Hello, everyone. Lauren Wild here. We're going to talk about this 29-degree Aries eclipse. Super exciting stuff. So 12:12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, you're looking at a clock face that is set for Dayton time, which is Eastern Standard Time, US time. So it's not important really to look at like the general layout of the chart as much as it is about where things are. What casting a chart does with a rising sign is it tells us how things are going to play out in the material realm. So unless you have your own chart and you've looked it up and you look for 29 degrees of Aries, it will be hard for you to be able to tell what exactly the area that this energy is going to filter through 29 degrees of Aries in. All right. I don't expect all of that to make sense. I will break it down into kind of like layman's terms here shortly. So what we're looking at is the new moon aspect, all right? So here we see the sun right here. It is this circle with a dot in the middle. That's the glyph for the sun. We see the crescent moon. These right here are the sun and moon in an exact conjunction, which is what happens at the exaction of a new moon at 29 degrees of Aries. In the mix, we've also got Jupiter at 23 degrees of Aries and a far out of sign aspect to Chiron. But I mean, I'd count it, right? I'd count it. Now, the sun, moon, and Jupiter are technically in what's called an out of sign square because Pluto just moved into 0 degrees of Aquarius. So if it was even like a half of a degree less, it would be at 29 degrees of Capricorn, which Aries and Capricorn are both cardinal signs, making it an exact square. So it's very close to squaring it. So what does this mean, right? And one aspect that we can't even see in here is Aries, which is a very, very far out planet body, celestial body. It takes over 500 years to return. So she's out in the Kuiper Belt, and she is about taking it to the streets and that everybody gets a voice. She is the sister to Mars. And she's at 24 degrees of Aries. And so she's in this mix for the rest of our lifetime, guys. Like she's not leaving this late degrees of Aries within our lifetime, at least another 80 years. So we better get used to it, right? So if you have any aspects, particularly in the late degrees of Aries, meaning like where your natal planets that you're born with, then you're going to feel this a lot. Also, late degrees of Capricorn, Libra, and Cancer. All right. Any of you will be getting squared by this aspect. Now, everybody's going to be affected by the eclipse. It's just people that have those aspects will get hit a little bit stronger. What are some of those effects? Well, to have Jupiter in the mix makes this bigger, right? It makes it like bigger than it necessarily could be without Jupiter's influence. Wherever Jupiter is, it's like having a magnifying glass on the situation. It expands it. It makes it bigger, right? The moon and the sun in a conjunction bring harmony to our feeling nature and then what is being illuminated in terms of like what's happening and where are we trying to exercise our sense of will. Now, when we talk about the moon, we're also talking about the people. So at this point, we're talking about people being pretty fed up with not having the ability to be independent, to not have the ability to make choices for themselves, to not have sovereignty, Aries, over your own body, over your own choices, over your own property, etc., etc. One of the other key pieces about Aries is that Aries rules weapons, particularly guns, and it also rules the military and emergency services. This is a very intense aspect, could even be explosive. So, I'm definitely cautious about going out into large public gatherings until this aspect is over. If my intuition tells me not to, I'm not going to, or expose my kids to it. People are going to definitely feel angry and impulsive and even potentially warlike under this influence if they don't have any like inner work practice, to work with these feelings that rise up, that is like, a very Aryan concepts, particularly with Chiron in there, which is like, do I have the right to exist? All right. Am I worthy enough to even be here? So that's just some of the like basic things. Now, Chiron is working its way into a trine with Black Moon Lilith at 11 degrees. I think that it's technically in orb, but it's not fully there yet. We've got Venus at 10 degrees of Gemini. She's about to make her Venus gate at 14 degrees of Gemini here soon. We've got Mars at 13 degrees of Cancer, which is really driving women's issues, particularly around reproductive rights. Cancer rules that. So we've got a lot going on. Our north and south node are at 4 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio at this point. So I will kind of like break that down for you now, in this sense that it's not, like I've been doing all this market research with people where they're like, I'm inspired by what you do, but none of it makes sense. I don't know how to apply it. You don't have to know how to do all of this to benefit from it. What it boils down to is, how is it affecting you? How does it have the capacity to affect you? And when we're talking about this eclipse, it's important to recognize that this is like our blue moon, right? So at the beginning of Aries season, which was spring equinox, March 21st, we had a 0 degree Aries new moon. And now a month later, we're having a 29 degree Aries moon. So 0 being a new beginning and 29 being the anaretic degree or the completion degree. It is the beginning of something and the completion of something. So a whole new 2-year cycle is beginning at a pretty extreme pace. All right. Aries moves fast in general. It wanted things done yesterday. It's very instinctive. It wants to take action. It doesn't want to sit around. It wants to move quick. It's very much a doer, right? It does not want to sit around. And so my suggestion as to how to utilize this energy is to see if you can take action towards yourself, your sense of self-development, because Aries says, I am. It is the sign of individuation. So to have Jupiter in here as well really expands that need for self-growth and self-development, to expand the sense of self, to really be able to like dig deep and overcome limitations with movement and bravery and choice, to take control over your life, to be able to take action, to get unstuck, to get movement again, which is what Aries really wants. And so my suggestion to you is to prioritize your self growth, your self development, your recovery, so that you can take action again. If you have felt stuck, this is the lunation for you to set the intention to really focus on taking action steps, brave steps towards reclaiming yourself and your authentic sovereign identity. I hope that this has been helpful for you guys. If you want to learn how to apply this through the lens of your own natal chart, look below. You'll see the link to book with me. I am actually booking out into about June at this point. So if you've been wanting to work with me, jump in there. If you know that you're like, you know what, Lauren, I'm interested in doing coaching with you, and really like taking advantage of this Aries energy, book a free 45-minute illumination call, and I will tell you all about my coaching program, and we'll see if it's the right fit for you. All right, guys, I hope that this was helpful, and I will see you next time. Okay.